Hey, can I talk to you, Sector, about something? It's just a quick little bit right before the video actually starts. So there's this project I'm in called Marvel Extraordinary. It's basically me and a bunch of other artists from Twitter who got together and asked, how would we reimagine the Marvel Universe? Just a pretty cool thing. It's really fun. We've been working on it for like months now, almost half a year, I'd say. I'm working on Iron Fist and Deadpool. It's up and coming. It's cool. And you can check it out on Twitter. So if you check the link in the description or maybe one of the iCards, I don't really know how I'm gonna link it, but it's there somewhere in the video. And it's not a lot yet, but it's stuff. There's definitely stuff. You can check our lineup and our members on the Twitter. Now, I'm gonna wait for this to steep, and when that's done, let's go upstairs and talk about Daredevil. Hi! Daredevil. The greatest show of all time. It's the best thing that ever happened to the MCU. Netflix's Daredevil was released in 2015 to much critical acclaim over its incredible direction and writing, and for giving audiences a much darker view of the, at the time, bright and cheery MCU. Except for Thor 2, but like, God knows we don't talk about that one. The show strived to present the struggle and drama of the life and times of Matt Murdock, a blind lawyer who had been locked in a proverbial cage match against the darkness of his city, Hell's Kitchen. Not just as a lawyer, but as the vigilante Daredevil. He fought with crime, laughed with his loved ones, and cried when he had to break those loved ones' hearts. The show presented not only physical conflict and kick-ass fight scenes, but also court cases and verbal battles with his antagonists. The show ran for 3 seasons, the third ending on an open note. Cases were closed, arcs were completed, but some questions still remained unanswered. Fans clamored for a continuation of the series when on May 20th, 2022, it was announced to the public that not only was Daredevil returning to the MCU at large, but he was also going to get a new show on Disney+. That was 3 days ago as of the recording of this video. On the 3rd day, Christ was reborn, and just 3 days ago, Daredevil was too. But if the way Disney seems to be making and presenting their shows is any sign, this masterclass in superhero adaptation may just be in jeopardy. And Daredevil's Disney Plus show is probably not gonna be any good. Chapter 1, the Disney Plus formula. Disney's been making a lot of shows lately. Moon Knight, Loki, long-ass title. They're all pretty solid, but the real thing about them is they're not really shows. The shows on Disney Plus feel more like 6-hour-long movies, and that's disgusting. It's like they were made with Netflix's release the whole season at once mentality, but they still release the episodes once a week, so you just have what is basically a movie coming out in 6 parts, 1 part releasing every week. But you don't need me to tell you that. You've probably seen all the fucking memes about how Disney Plus shows are really just long-ass movies lately when it comes to the MCU. There are some legitimately noticeable flaws about this series, like how they always kind of seem a little rushed, especially toward the end. The 6-episode format definitely doesn't help with that. If anything, it's probably a main factor. 6 episodes just isn't long enough for a show. I mean, Netflix had 12 to 13 episodes a season for Daredevil, and that was pretty good for pacing. This whole 6-part movie format, if you want to call it that, is just not what these shows need. I often leave a D+ show feeling like it could use another episode or 2. I mean, you could probably fill a whole episode with just the extra scenes and shit that they cut out for no reason. Sidebar, Hawkeye's entire fucking backstory, really? The whole thing, you just cut it out of his fucking show. Scenes with Kingpin that go a long way in humanizing and showing who he is as a person and his relationship with Echo. What? Why? God, what are you doing? If Netflix was a D+ show, you know what they would fucking do? That whole episode where it's just Matt and Foggy in college would be cut, and like a bunch of scenes that go a long way in humanizing Wilson Fisk probably also just trashed, gone, garbage. Not only that, but they probably just would have forced in a bunch of really dumb and stupid jokes into random bits of episodes. And on that note, Chapter 2, Funny Moment Compilation number 12. You ever seen videos like this going around? Have you noticed that every time a new Disney Plus show comes around, you start to see these gag compilations going around, literally just like hours after the first episode's been released? This seems to be something that Disney is actively pining for. Like, the MCU has a reputation of being silly and lighthearted, sure, but that doesn't mean it's never serious and grounded. But yeah, the MCU has been kind of goofy, silly lately, a little funny. Fucking Stephen Grant being a little scrubbly bunkly for 12 minutes straight, fucking compilations, Comic Sans looking ass. But Goobert, Daredevil has funny moment compilations too, I hear shout and cry and call. And like, yeah, it does, but the thing about Daredevil's humor that sets it apart from the rest of the MCU's is context. In Daredevil, the jokes always arrive in moments of downtime, like when the characters are just chilling.
Nice ears.
They're horns.
They only crack jokes in the moments that are appropriate for them. MCU, meanwhile,
Shit! Language!
sometimes they really just straight up talk like they're in a sitcom in the middle of a fight. Like, I'm half expecting a laugh track to come in, like in the middle of a joke.
And for gosh sake, watch your language.
Banter is a fun thing for superheroes to have, but when every superhero is cracking wise, it kind of makes it so that characters whose whole shtick previously was being, like, they would crack wise, it kind of makes them look a lot less unique. Take Taskmaster, for example. He kind of talks the way most MCU characters would talk. Like, he typically cracks wise, he makes a joke every now and then, and that's fun because he's one of the villains who's just a regular ass guy. But the thing about the MCU is everybody is that guy by default. Like, they're all just these little guys, you know, these regular people who make jokes about the scenarios that they're in, and that's cool. But that made it so that when they eventually adapted Taskmaster into Black Widow, he's just, like, he's nothing. He's literally null and void. Like, he doesn't talk. And that's a travesty, truly. A character like Spider-Man making jokes during a fight feels a lot less special and distinct when Iron Man is doing it too.
Doth mother know you weareth her drapes?
And even when there are serious characters like Thor, Hawkeye, and Captain America, they typically end up being a part of a stupid gag at some point anyway.
Say green. Hulk out!
You've heard the memes, and they may be a little bit overblown, but there's still some truth to them. And if the presentation of characters like Spider-Man or Moon Knight are anything to take from, then we should probably be very, very worried for our Lord and Savior Daredevil. This is connected in part to the him baby effect. The MCU, for whatever reason, seems to always consistently fail at making everyman characters work because they end up using them in a lot of stupid gags and goofs, which ends up making them seem a lot less normal. As I've said in my Moon Knight video, Stephen Grant went from being a regular-ass, normal dude in episode 1 to a bouncing baby goofball in episode 2. In one episode, he got flamerized. That's fucking some speedrun shit, dude, any percent. Spider-Man went from this young, snarky, but responsible hero who would rather stay in New York than get involved in Avengers antics in Civil War to a little 12-year-old, 16-year-old ass kid who, like, just wants to be an Avenger in Homecoming. And if this pattern continues, Sex Murdoch may go from a competent hero and lawyer in the Netflix show to something much sillier on Disney Plus. Chapter 3, moving on. Daredevil might not be the only show coming back to the MCU. From what I can gather, other Defenders might actually make a comeback in something of a street-level renaissance. And that just sounds awesome, dude. I really love street-level Marvel stuff, and these characters coming back to the MCU might just give them a perfect opportunity to do stuff that they never could over at Netflix. Like, make a good Iron Fist show, damn it! The new Daredevil show also seems like it's going to be a soft reboot of sorts. Think along the lines of David Ayer's Suicide Squad, transitioning to James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Maybe they'll call this one the Daredevil or something. You know what's cool and all that Daredevil's coming back, but it just won't be the same. We probably won't get a groundbreaking character study of Matt Murdock. We'll just get an okay one at best. We won't be getting intense, one-take hallway fight scenes that effectively show how Daredevil uses his skills and tools to his advantage in a fight. We'll probably just get the standard MCU fare, which that's pretty good, I guess. And they probably aren't going to put as much thought into the side characters either. Like, Foggy's just going to be a dumb joke, and then Karen will get indoctrinated into the MCU! Disney Plus's Daredevil will not reach the soaring, somersaulting parkour heights that Netflix Daredevil did. And you know what? I don't care. New Daredevil is gonna be stinky. I probably won't like it as much as The Adventures of Sex Murdoch, but you know, I'll probably still watch it, you know? I don't know, I hope he gets his cool Billy Club back. That was fucking sick, and he only used it in like one episode, I think. You know, I actually kind of really love shitty sequels. I love TASM 2, and I've always loved Spider-Man 3. I thought Shrek the Third was funny because of how horribly bad it was. I love Batman and Robin. It's trash, but it's shiny and all covered in glitter. I only really tend to bitch about sequels when they spit bitter pain in the face of the things that came before them, or they bore the absolute living shit out of me. But Disney Plus shows are more of an unironic enjoyment for me, and that's why I felt the need to voice some of my concerns here. What if it's bad? It better be trash. If you can't afford to be the best, be the best at being the worst. That's the takeaway. That's the lesson that I want you to learn. I only accept the two ends of the extremes. No in between. Right? Well, I hope that entertained you for a while there, but I hope I rustled your jimmies or whatever you want to fucking say. I really am worried about the future of Daredevil. I mean, I'm not gonna care that much because I really do think that the 3 seasons of Daredevil that we have are a pretty good enough complete story. Like, that's a pretty good ending. Solid ending. And there are definitely a lot of stories that we can continue to tell, like, I don't know, Bullseye coming back, you know, that whole thing, oh, the little credit scene. Or, I don't know, maybe do some more stuff with Elektra, maybe do something cooler with her. But, you know, ultimately, I'd rather have what we have, which is a perfect show that's just 3 seasons that kind of ends on an open note, than a show that continues going forever and gets progressively more and more shit. Unless the Disney Plus show is so bad it's good, or like cheesy or whatever. It's probably not gonna be like cheesy bad, but it's probably gonna get a few cheap laughs out of me. I'll probably like it. At best, it'll be on the level of Moon Knight in terms of actual story, not adaptation, right? If it's on the level of Moon Knight in terms of adaptation, I am going to scream. But, you know, that's really all I wanted to say. That's all I've got for you, other than follow my Twitter and check out Marvel Extraordinary. That's all from me. That's all you need. Bye. I'm Goober.